Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about how my baby got croup at 5 months old, what he's currently experiencing, and the symptoms that led up to it. Before I get started, I do want to say that I did record a vlog last week, and this vlog was just supposed to be a day in the life and then a little bit more on our baby-led weaning journey. Because last week was so stressful, it just kind of got put on pause. Literally everything got put on pause. And so for the first time since the very first week I uploaded to my channel, I only did one video for the week, and that was just because Grayson is our priority, and at that point nothing else mattered but him and his health and trying to figure out what was going on with him and why he was getting these fevers. So I'm very sorry that last week there was only one video, but that is just because I didn't have time to edit that vlog and get it up because Grayson was sick. That day in the life vlog will be up though by the time you're watching this. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background on why I did not upload last Friday. Monday and Tuesday last week were great. Tuesday I filmed a vlog, and that's the vlog I just mentioned, and I was planning on getting that edited and uploaded for Friday, so I had plenty of time to edit that. But then Wednesday morning came along, and that was the start of a very long and stressful week. It all started about 5 in the morning. Grayson woke up really fussy. And this isn't totally uncommon for him. I mean, he'll have moments where he wakes up fussy, but this wasn't his normal fussy. This was screaming and not able to be consoled fussy. I picked him up from his bassinet because he's still in our room, and immediately I could sense something was completely off. Something was wrong. I felt him and he was burning up. And I did the little, mom test for a fever where I kissed his forehead, and he was on fire. And I knew his body temperature doesn't get that high. This is not normal. And immediately I had Kevin go and grab a thermometer and we took his temperature. His temperature was 101.8, which is scary because he's a baby, but it's not dangerously scary. So we decided that unless his temperature got higher, we would just give him baby Tylenol and watch him closely. And if it did get higher, we would call the pediatrician. The Tylenol actually did work really well for that time being. And it was totally fine until about 11 a.m. And then we took his temperature and it read 103.7. So I will start out by saying I freaked out. I wish I could say I remained calm, but I almost lost it entirely. As soon as I read those numbers, my hands started shaking. I started to kind of get hysterical, and Kevin had to calm me down and say it's gonna be okay. We just have to remain calm, and we have to call the doctor and figure out our next steps from here, because 103.7 is nearing 104, and that is way too high. The good news about this was he was not losing his appetite, so we were able to keep him hydrated still. And then what we went ahead and tried was a tepid bath, just so that way we could try to bring his temperature down ourselves, and some more Tylenol. But he hated the bath. He was not feeling well at all, so the last thing he wanted was a bath. That made us really sad because he normally loves bath time. And then the Tylenol started to help a little bit, and it did bring it down, but every time it would go down, it would go right back up, and we were right back to where we started. That time between his fever being 103.7 and his doctor appointment that we had scheduled for later that afternoon felt like an eternity. Kevin and I were worried sick. He didn't have a stuffy nose, he didn't have a cough, he didn't have any other symptoms but this fever. And this fever just seemed to get higher and higher, and we were terrified for his brain. We were terrified that it would get so high that, it would damage him internally. We were terrified. We were just so scared. Normally what I do in any situation when I'm unsure of something that's going on with Grayson or something we should be doing with him is I Google. And Google is my best friend and my worst enemy, honestly. And I feel like probably a lot of people relate to this, but I will Google and find out some terrifying possibilities of what, could be going on. And then I get in my head about it, and it stresses me out and worries me even more. So I just didn't Google because I really didn't want to know. I just wanted to go to his doctor and get answers there. I didn't want to speculate and try to figure out what it would be myself, because that is a really good way for me to scare myself even more. Finally, it was time for his appointment and we took him. Kevin is still unable to come in, and that was really difficult because I was by myself and Grayson was so fussy. In fact, when we took him into the front and they took both of our temperatures, they were like, oh, he has a fever, so you guys need to wait in the car and we will call you when it's time to come in. So I felt really bad. They even had us come in through a side door because they don't want to infect anyone. You know, with COVID, they just want to make sure if someone has a fever, they're not around other patients. So we just went ahead and walked in through the side door. But you guys, as soon as we got into that room and I started undressing him and changing his diaper, you know, so they could weigh him, he was burning up. He was screaming, which is so unlike him because normally when we get into the doctor's office, until they give him a shot or weigh him, he's a little bit fussy, but he's so smiley beforehand. And this was just not the case. He was clearly not feeling well. The first thing they did was check his lungs. Then they checked his ears and his throat and his nose. They checked everything and they said it all looked great. So it wasn't what appeared to be a virus. And then they went ahead and tested his urine. So that was kind of difficult because they attached a bag to him inside of his diaper. So that way when he peed, the bag would contain the urine and then they could, you know, use that as a sample. So what we just went ahead and did was waited in the car with him and let him nap a little bit while we waited for him to go to the bathroom. And then we went back in and they tested his urine to see if he had a bladder infection that could be causing this fever. No, that came back negative too. So there we were. His temperature was about 101 at that point, and we were just still completely unsure of what could have been going on. The doctor could not find anything wrong, and they said, okay, you know what, just watch him closely, keep giving him Tylenol, and they said if his fevers last Thursday and Friday, go ahead and take him to Children's Hospital where they'll be able to do blood work on him and other tests and see what could be going on. Obviously, we are in a pandemic, so taking him to a hospital really isn't ideal, and we do know that that specific hospital, while a wonderful hospital, and we're very lucky to have it, is usually very crowded, especially right now, and so we were just really praying we wouldn't have to take him to the hospital. The next day we continued to watch him. His temperature would fluctuate between 99, 100, and then it started to go up again. And it went up to 102.7, and at that point we were weighing our options. We were trying to decide if maybe it would be better if we went ahead and just took him to the hospital for blood work and testing that same day, because his temperature was still going up and it was concerning. Or we thought, should we hold off and wait until tomorrow just to be safe, because maybe his fever will break and the blood work won't be necessary. But we just seriously had no idea what to do. And at that point we were thinking it could be roseola, we were thinking it could be a variety of things, maybe ear infection. Everyone was saying teething, but we were reading that teething doesn't always come with fevers, or doesn't usually come with fevers that high. They say if it's like 100.4 below, then it could totally be teething. But since this fever was so high, they thought that it was very unlikely to be teething. At his previous appointment, they did schedule an appointment for a follow-up with them on Saturday. They told us that if we went ahead and got our blood work from Children's Hospital, we would be able to follow up with them on that blood work that Saturday. And so I just went ahead and kept that appointment, even though we weren't sure if we were going to be getting the blood work yet, because I thought, worst case scenario, if he's still having fevers, we'll get his blood work done. But if he is not having fevers but still having issues, we'll just go back to the doctor and double check everything one more time. We gave him Tylenol Thursday evening and his fever finally broke. That was a huge relief because he was having such a hard time. He was really, really fussy. There were times where he was just in a diaper because he was burning up and we didn't want him to overheat. So he was just in his diaper, and he would watch so much Mickey Mouse, because I always say if he's sick, you know, he's not feeling well, then I'll let him watch TV. And it really did help him and make him happy. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have to get him a Mickey Mouse doll or something because he loves Mickey Mouse. And I will say it's better than Cocomelon, so we'll take it. We were starting to feel a lot better because Grayson's fever had seemed to have broken, and it didn't seem like it was going to return. His temperature wasn't rising slowly again, because what it was doing before is it would be like 98, and then it would go to 99, and then we would take it again and it was 101, and it would, you know, get higher and higher, and that was really scary. So when his fever wasn't returning, we were feeling very hopeful that we might be out of the woods through this. That was until about 9 o'clock that night. He started screaming and screaming, and we've never heard him cry like this. We didn't know what was going on. He didn't have a fever at this point, so it wasn't the fever causing him to scream, but he was clearly hurting. He was in pain, and we didn't know what it was, but we knew something was wrong. And when I say he screamed, I don't mean he just cried. I mean for half an hour, he screamed nonstop. We bounced him, we rocked him, we walked around with him, we did whatever we thought we could to soothe him. Anything that normally works to soothe him, like instantly, was not working. There was nothing we could do to soothe him. And the only way he fell asleep was because he exhausted himself. He exhausted himself from screaming. And as his mom and dad, Kevin and I felt so helpless. We were standing there, just staring at him, almost about to cry ourselves because we just felt so bad. We didn't know what was going on, but that was even scarier, that his fever was gone, but now he was screaming and we had no idea why. So all day Friday, he actually did not have a fever, and we were so thankful for that. That was a huge relief, but he was still very, very fussy like he had been that previous night. So like I mentioned, we just went ahead and kept that doctor's appointment that following day. We didn't go get blood work done at the hospital because he didn't have a fever, so that part wasn't necessary. But we did think maybe there's an ear infection that just popped up. Maybe there's something wrong. You know, we just wanted to go get him checked out one more time because my mom gut was telling me something was not right. This is a little baby who is so smiley 98% of the time. I say 98 because, you know, when he's getting changed or nap time, when he wakes up from naps, he's not too happy, but he really is such a happy baby. And so to see him in pain and so miserable was absolutely devastating. All day Friday, he was fever-free, and this was good news. But the bad news was he was still fussy. He actually ended up having a hoarse voice. We attributed his hoarse, raspy voice to him screaming so much. The other scary thing is he was starting to refuse his bottle, so we didn't know why he was refusing his bottle, but that was scary because we knew we needed to keep him hydrated. I will add that during this time, because he was sick, we didn't give him any solids. That may set us back with baby-led weaning, but honestly, what he really needed was just formula. We just wanted to keep him hydrated with those fevers, and he was pretty lethargic and so fussy, so we just wanted to keep him comfortable in whatever way we could, and that was by bottle feeding, cuddling. He would nap on our chest whenever he would take his naps. He would sleep on my chest at night because that was the only way he would sleep. Friday night was another really, really hard night because he was really fussy. He was fighting his bottles at this point. I mean, it was just really, really sad to see him not have the fever, but still have something wrong. And as his parents, we just really, I mentioned this, but we just felt so incredibly helpless and just wanted to do anything we could to take his pain away and to make him feel better. Saturday morning rolled around, finally, and we took him to his doctor, and they checked his oxygen levels, his lungs, his ears, everything. His oxygen levels were 100%, so they looked great. His lungs looked great. He was doing really well, and he actually weighed the same amount that he did the previous appointment, so he was still the same weight. He hadn't lost any weight, and that was really encouraging. So they just wanted to look him over and see what could be going on. After she inspected him closely, she determined that he has croup. And I thought that that raspy voice was from screaming, but she informed me that it was croup, and that was what the fever was trying to fight. His body's reaction to him getting sick with croup was to try to fight it with, we believe, was to try to fight it with those fevers. And they just kept coming and coming for 2 days. Unfortunately, he did get croup, but we do believe that if he didn't have those fevers, his croup would be way worse. And when we were in the office, she did give him some medicine, but what made me really sad is hearing that what I thought was just from screaming was actually croup, and croup can be very dangerous if not treated, and I'm so thankful that we just kept that appointment anyway, even though we didn't get blood work, because had we not kept that appointment, he could have had his croup get way worse today. Today's Easter, and so if the doctors are closed and we can't take him anywhere, we would have to take him to the hospital. And that did happen to my little sister when she was a baby. She had croup so badly that in the middle of the night she was gasping for air as a newborn, and my mom ended up having to take her into Children's Hospital's ER, and they had to do breathing treatments on her so she was able to breathe better. And that's how severe her croup got. So hearing that Grayson has croup was terrifying. They gave him some medicine. I don't want to say it wrong, so I have it on my phone. It was dexamethasone. They gave him dexamethasone for his airways to be opened up more, because the thing with croup is the airways swell, and so he was having a harder time breathing, and it was making his throat sore and giving him that hoarseness that we were hearing. And so all of this was the croup, and we had no idea. I wanted to give you guys the exact definition of croup. So according to Children's Hospital Colorado, croup occurs when there is inflammation of the upper airway, the larynx, and the trachea that causes a barking, cough, or hoarseness. The inflammation is caused by a virus. So he did get a virus, and we're not sure where or how, but all that matters is his croup is mild right now, and we are able to treat it ourselves at home, and he isn't needing to be hospitalized for it, so we're thankful for that. A very big way people identify croup is through the barking cough or the striders, and he has neither of those. So that's a really big reason why we had no idea this was croup. We just thought he had a sore throat from screaming, but apparently croup can start with hoarseness and progress into a barking cough very quickly. And then that barking cough can lead to striders, which are really scary and can land you in the ER if you're not careful, or can land your baby or your child in the ER if you're not careful. So the big thing with croup is to just watch your child so closely to make sure that they're breathing okay, that they seem to be getting enough oxygen. The hard thing about croup is a way that croup gets worse is if the baby or child gets too excited or aggravated. And it is very challenging to keep a baby from crying and getting aggravated when their throat is hurting them and they don't want to drink anything because their throat is bothering them. Keeping Grayson from crying, keeping a 5-month-old from crying is very challenging. Keeping a 5-month-old from getting excited when they're happy is very challenging. And when Grayson gets excited, he squeals with excitement. And when he's upset, he yells or he cries. And so keeping him from doing that, while we haven't been able to totally keep him from doing that, keeping him from doing that a lot is really challenging. He does it a lot. He's a baby. He discovered his voice and he loves to use it. He is having a pretty hard time at the moment. He's very fussy a majority of the day. If he's awake, he's pretty fussy. Up until today, the only place he would sleep was on my chest. But luckily today, he did take a nap in his crib this morning, and he's actually napping in his bassinet right now. So he's getting a little bit better. We're making progress each day, and he has still been fever-free since Friday, so that is a very big relief too. And again, we are not sure how he got this virus, but we are just really thankful that it's not more extreme. We're just praying that his croup does not worsen as time goes on this week. He is a little bit more smiley each day, so that makes us happy to see him back to himself. The reason I want to share this story with you guys is because you may be in a similar situation and not realize it, and I just want you to know that you're not alone. I had no idea what his fevers were caused by, but I just knew it was something bad. And so I'm very relieved that it was croup and not anything too severe, but I'm also thankful that I trusted my mom gut. And that's the biggest takeaway I have from this is always trust your mom gut. Because I just knew we needed to keep that appointment on Saturday. Even though we didn't get the blood work done at the hospital on Friday, I knew we needed to keep that Saturday appointment because something wasn't right with Grayson. And I could have just said, you know, it's probably just teething. It's probably just something related to the fever, but it's not a big deal. His fever's gone. It's fine. Something was wrong with him and he wasn't himself. And I needed to get to the bottom of why that was and what was causing him to be so upset. During this time, Kevin was amazing. He was so helpful and attentive. And if he could tell I needed a break, he would say, here, hand me Grayson. You go take a breather. Because, you know, after 3 days of it, it was getting really overwhelming. And 3 days in, we still had no idea what was causing the fevers. So that was another thing that made this really, really difficult and scary. Because Grayson is only 5 months old, him having a fever so high was terrifying. And I am so thankful that it ended up being croup and nothing more severe. And I am at home today. It's Easter Sunday and we're at home because croup is contagious for kids. And so we aren't going anywhere. We're just staying home and letting Grayson rest and avoiding giving this to our nieces. But we're just very relieved that Grayson was able to receive that treatment at his doctor on Saturday for his croup because it really seemed to help by the evening. It also could have prevented his croup from getting dangerously worse, and for that we are so thankful. so thankful that we went to that appointment and that they noticed that it was croup. If you think your baby is sick, never be afraid to call the doctor. I really hope you guys found this video valuable, and if you did find it valuable, I would appreciate if you left a like and a comment down below. And to see more videos like this one related to motherhood, be sure to subscribe.
Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling